Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. Today we're diving into a mystery that sounds exactly like the plot of a sci-fi thriller, but I promise you it is 100% real. We're heading to Jatinga. It's a place famous, or maybe infamous, for being the village where birds literally fall from the sky. No joke. It is a fully documented scientific phenomenon that has had experts completely baffled for decades. So let's just jump right in, head straight into the dark hills of Assam and try to figure out what on earth is pulling these creatures down from the clouds.
Okay, to really wrap your head around this, you've kind of got to put yourself right there in the moment. Picture this. You're standing outside, completely alone, on a freezing, foggy night. The wind is whipping through the trees, and these massive, towering hills around you are just swallowed up by a super thick, heavy mist. It's exactly the kind of bone-chilling weather that makes you instinctively want to run inside, lock the doors, and huddle by a warm fire, right? And on top of that cold, it is eerily, perfectly silent. Jatinga is incredibly isolated. We aren't talking about a bustling city here. There's no traffic hum, no people chatting, just the really haunting sound of that cold wind in the branches and total absolute stillness. The fog is so dense you can barely see 2 feet in front of your face. It's heavy, it's oppressive, and you're just standing there in the pitch black.
Then, bam, a bird drops from the sky. And we aren't talking about a bird just dropping dead mid-flight. It literally plummets out of the mist in this chaotic, crazy dive and just thuds into the ground right next to you. Before your brain can even process what you're looking at, another one crashes down. And then another. Within minutes, you've got dozens of birds raining down from the total darkness above, slamming into the earth in a frantic, entirely confused state.
So you're standing there, looking up into this empty, white fog. You can't see a thing. What is actually happening? Is the place cursed? Are we dealing with some kind of supernatural force? Or is this just a wild scientific mystery that researchers still can't quite piece together? I mean, really, put yourself in the shoes of the locals seeing this terrifying sky barrage for the very first time. You would be freaking out.
Well, the epicenter for all of this madness is Jatinga. It's this tiny, really remote village tucked way deep in the boreal hill range of Assam, India. We're talking an altitude of about 2,500 feet, with a super tight-knit community of just a few thousand people. But despite being so quiet and unassuming, Jatinga is known literally worldwide for this one completely bizarre avian phenomenon. It totally changed the village's identity and put them right on the global map.
Now here's a crazy detail. This doesn't just happen randomly throughout the year. It's terrifyingly predictable. It happens on very specific nights tucked exactly between the tail end of monsoon season and the start of autumn. So we're looking at late September through November. It's like clockwork. And honestly, that clockwork reliability is exactly what brings scientists, bird experts, and just generally curious people flocking from all over the world to see it with their own eyes.
According to the local lore that's been passed down, this whole thing unfolds in a few really terrifying steps. Step 1. On these pitch-black, moonless nights, birds just materialize out of the fog. Step 2. They aggressively fly straight toward any lantern or artificial light source they can find in the village. And remember, in a dark rural area covered in dense fog, a single lantern is basically a blinding beacon. Step 3. They crash. Hard. They either slam violently into trees and buildings or just hit the dirt, completely dazed and confused.
You can definitely understand why the locals were absolutely terrified before modern science showed up. Imagine being there. A lot of the villagers were totally convinced that evil spirits were living up in the hills and actively causing this to terrorize them. On the flip side, others thought the birds were actually supernatural messengers bringing some kind of dark warning out of the forest. And honestly, both of those theories make total sense when you consider just how frightening and unknown this whole thing was.
But as decades rolled by, the mystery didn't just fade away. It happened every single season, without fail. So word eventually gets out to the rest of the world, and that's when the big-time ornithologists and scientific researchers start rolling into Jatinga. They had one massive, daunting goal: observe the birds, track the exact weather patterns, log absolutely every detail, and finally separate the local ghost stories from cold, hard science.
And what they found was honestly fascinating. It turns out this doesn't happen on just any foggy night. It requires a crazy, specific, incredibly rare recipe of environmental conditions. You absolutely need dense fog. You need strong winds. The night has to be completely moonless. And crucially, you need artificial lights from the village. Think about how rare it is for those 4 exact things to line up perfectly. If even one of those ingredients is missing, the birds stay right up in the sky.
So the research ultimately points to a pretty heartbreaking reality. When these extreme weather conditions hit, the birds completely lose their internal navigation.
The high winds and the blinding fog just totally scramble their natural compass. They get so severely disoriented that they're fatally drawn to the bright artificial lights of the village below. Those lights act like this mesmerizing but incredibly deadly beacon in all that chaos.
Okay, so case closed, right? Well, actually, no. Here's where the story gets even weirder. Even after years and years of intense study and gathering mountains of data, science hasn't actually solved the whole puzzle. We know the how. The weather and the lights mess them up, but we are missing some massive whys. There's still huge, glaring questions that have experts pulling their hair out to this very day.
Like, for starters, why does this happen so consistently in Jatinga? There are plenty of other places around the world, even right there in the Assam region, that get dense fog, high winds, and have artificial lighting. Yet this mass bird disorientation is uniquely concentrated in this one specific village and literally nowhere else on the planet. Why there?
And it gets stranger. Why are only very specific bird species affected by this? If it's really just about bad weather and confusing lights, you logically expect every single bird flying in the area to be crashing down. But they aren't. It's a really select group, mostly local resident birds like kingfishers, tiger bitterns, and pittas. The fact that this phenomenon somehow targets these specific species just adds this whole other thick layer to the mystery.
And maybe the craziest part of all, why is the drop zone so incredibly tiny? The birds don't fall all over the Boreal Hills. They fall on this insanely specific strip of land inside the village that is exactly 1.5 kilometers long and just 200 meters wide. That is a remarkably tiny footprint. Science has definitely given us some great clues, but the complete picture, yeah, it remains totally elusive.
So that leaves us with this incredible, lingering reality. When darkness falls over the Assam hills and that thick fog starts rolling into the village, the people of Jatinga and curious minds all over the globe still look up at the sky. They're just waiting, watching, wondering if tonight is the night the mystery strikes again. Because Jatinga proves that no matter how advanced our science gets, nature still holds some incredibly dark secrets that we just haven't unraveled yet. What do you think is really pulling them out of the sky? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.